Hello, hello, folks. Thank you so much for checking in on our TRINI Corner episode. And I am speaking with Trini-born, Grenadian-based guitarist, classical jazz guitarist, arranger, and composer, Mr. Cecil Bartholomew. So, stay tuned. Hi, folks. How are you? Welcome to TRINI Corner episode brought to you by the Caribbean Airlines and supported by the Consulate General of Trinidad and Tobago, New York, Mr. J. Andre Laveau. I'm Ozzy Stewart, as you know, and very, very grateful that you've tuned into this tour of mine, giving flowers to deserving impactors within the Trinidadian diaspora. And on this episode, shining light on Mr. Cecil Bartholomew, world-renowned classical jazz guitar arranger composer. So please like, follow, share, subscribe, drop a comment, and check in on our membership page for our after show, Inside the Call, which offers a more personal view of our guest, Mr. Bartholomew, only found for you on the website. That's it. So now I'm going to let you know who Mr. Bartholomew is about. Mr. Cecil Bartholomew, nicknamed Mr. B, was born in Curep, Trinidad, where I have family as well, attended Presentation College in Chaguanas, worked at the license office, then moved to the US to study. Gained his bachelor's in electrical engineering from the Polytechnic Institute in New York, bolstered by further studies in artificial intelligence at MIT, as well as jazz and classical guitar. How you put those two together, you'll find out. He served as an international engineering manager at Electronic Signature Analysis Technologies with Xerox for 30 years. In the US, South America, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Australia, innovating strategic technologies to enhance component reusability. He returned to the Caribbean in 2000 as ICT Director of OECS. What's that? Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. Under the leadership of the then Prime Minister of Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique, Dr. Keith C. Mitchell. Mr. B resides in St. George's, Grenada. Lovely country, lovely area. He's a well-known classical jazz guitar arranger composer, celebrated for his unique fusion of tropical rhythms and jazz structures, and performed as a backup guitarist as well for visiting artists while he was active in New York City, and had a significant performance history during the 80s and 90s, although classically trained, jazz became the main thrust. After a solo performance in Gloucestershire, England, other performances occurred in Holland, Germany, France, Australia, and during that time, a classical solo album was sold worldwide. Cecil has 2 CDs. With a profound passion for music, he coined the term kingdom guitar. Is that correct? Which emphasizes his commitment to integrate music with a powerful message. As a solo artist, Bartholomew captures the thrill of the strings, in quotes, channeling his spiritual beliefs and musical discipline into transformative performances designed to inspire change. Yes, people, musical influences and styles began in Trinidad and continued in Grenada, where he developed a deep appreciation for the guitar under the mentorship of jazz legends Lorindo Almeida and Kenny Burrell. His compositions often reflect the bossa nova rhythm blended with cheerful lyrical jazz solos, creating a vibrant musical landscape in his works. Saw his performance last night, breathtaking. Bartholomew's style, best described as tropical jazz fusion, artfully combines rock, calypso, and jazz standards while incorporating original compositions. He also loves Marley and infuses within his compositions the Bob Marley, would you say sound or would you say
The
theme
concept,
or
this
the
theme,
concept?
his
The
theme,
themes. And
his
there you
theme,
heard it
and I
from
put
his
it
mouth.
into the classical style.
Right, and really, it's really, really beautiful. As the composer and guitarist for the band Quiet Fire, Bartholomew leads the ensemble's exploration of tropical jazz fusion, enhancing their sound through acoustic and electric guitar arrangements. The music produced is a harmonious blend of original works and creatively rearranged covers. He's the leader, composer, arranger of two bands, Acasta in the US and Quiet Fire in Grenada. His contributions in composition and arrangement helped shape the band's unique sound. He also played the double tenor steel pan. I'm waiting for that one. But here we go. Teaching and community engagement. As a dedicated music instructor at Archibald Avenue Music since 2009, Mr. B shares his expertise teaching guitar and bass with a focus on both technique and musical theory. He empowers serious, talented individuals to tap into their latent abilities. Presently retired, Mr. B performs weekly at the prestigious Calabash Hotel in Grenada and at special venues, mostly as a solo artist for the government of Grenada and at other private events, while recording, teaching, and changing the minds and hearts of youths through his music. A man of deep faith and conviction, Mr. B, Mr. Cecil Bartholomew, sees music as a spiritual passage and a vehicle for societal change. He emphasizes discipline, effort, and heartfelt communication throughout, as well as advocating for women. You're going to get to that too. So stay tuned. We're going to head over to Mr. B. So, Mr. Cecil B., how did your interest in artificial intelligence develop? And what specifically drew you to that field?
Well, in my past life as an electronic engineer for the Xerox Corporation, we always were ahead. When I say we, the Xerox Corporation and its research, the Xerox Corporation was the company who initiated the mouse.
Right.
But we didn't know how valuable the mouse was, so Mr. Bill Gates, he kind of relieved us from that possibility.
Right.
And we do a lot of things, a lot of technologies that are very innovative. And one of them is just let us investigate. We're hearing about this artificial intelligence and what it will be in the future and stuff.
Approximately what year was that?
That was around 85, wow. 86,
wow.
When it was just coming about. The company was affiliated with a lot of the other universities, like MIT and Harvard and stuff. But MIT was doing some initial work with artificial intelligence. And my company, they sent me down there as one of the lead engineers. And we started to look at the concepts of artificial intelligence. And at that time, it was sort of directed towards the medical profession, because a lot of diagnoses, you want that to be accurate. So if we could have that on a leg on its own, it would be better. So we started to look at the shell. And I'll give you a little bit about artificial intelligence. It starts with a shell. A shell meaning a grouping of software. We use a lot of software with computers, but it's yes, no answers, and I don't want to get into the technology. But with artificial intelligence, the software enables one to go into the shades of gray. The shades of gray meaning, well, if, like how we speak, well, I'm not too sure, or this might. Well, in actual technology, in actual computer work, there's no well and might. It's yes, no, and that it makes those answers. But with artificial intelligence, you get the warmer, the gray areas.
The in-betweens.
The gray areas. And that is what we started to initiate. So I built a shell with the software that we had at the time, and we started to pack the shell with activity, sort of apps you would call that today. You know, when you want an app to do something you don't have on your iPhone, you get an app. Well, instead of getting an app, we build in what we call an algorithm within the shell so that now you could get whatever output that you desire. Wow. So that was the initial stages. It gets more complex than that,
Right.
but that's to give you the idea that
That must have, like, I mean, at that point, dealing with that sort of thing, that must have been so interesting. Like,
oh, yeah, because we're trying to make the machine human.
Right.
So we're looking at ourselves and see what we do and what we don't do and how to implement that. And that is what is causing a lot of the fears of our human beings today because of its actual proximity to our actions in the species Homo sapiens.
Can you explain some of the projects you worked on involving AI at MIT, you know, and how did they influence your perspective on technology?
The first part was to develop the shell, to understand what the concepts were.
Right.
Concepts meaning how many of the human behaviors we would like to centralize or have used in a communal way. To be more specific on that, today, if you go to a production line or manufacturing corporation, you would see a lot of bots that are doing things or operations that were done by the humans.
Right.
Which you have a little cell, and that human is within the cell with a screwdriver or power hammer or whatever, doing whatever the function was. But artificial intelligence has allowed us to provide accuracy, well-being, quality, sustainability, and also the fact that it doesn't get ill and have to take any sick days. So, so from from about a business perspective, so that is the areas that we worked on. So we looked at the areas that are most profitable for us, which are the actual areas of manufacturing, which it can be an asset and reduce costs and reduce the head count, but still get the same output and quality.
Right.
So that area I worked on a lot because we built machines.
Right. Hold on.
So that was one.
How did that work that you were doing influence your perspective on technology?
It influenced my perspective on technology as an asset in terms of being able to get the same quality output for whatever activity you are involved in without having the uncertainty of human error or repeatability. We humans are individuals and we operate as individuals and do things with unique differences. If we do anything with our unique differences in making a car or or an airplane, we could have problems.
Correct.
Because in these technologies that deliver these commodities that we use every day, they have to be exact. So what the bot and AI does, it uses the clock circuits of computers with timing that are so accurate that the repeatability is consistent.
In your experience, what are the most significant challenges in implementing AI technologies in engineering?
The first part of the implementation is usually we call the alpha. Alpha meaning the first test environment. And since AI, artificial intelligence, is not a confirmed or accepted technology at the time, it was just being developed.
Right.
We had to go through a lot of alpha type testing between the company, MIT, and whoever else were the people involved in the conceptualization of the AI phenomenon or the paradigm based on what it is. So in implementing it, the first thing we're up against is how to develop trust in the customer that is going to be using this device, or if it's a device or whatever the apps or. But the first thing is being able to build trust. Once you develop a technology or any sort of concept that is going to be usable by a community or humans, you have to make sure that certain criteria are met in terms of the safety, the usability and that sort of thing. The what we call that is the human interface has to be as such. So the human interface, to answer the question, was one of the most difficult parts in being able to get it to be a marketable item or a marketable assistance machine in that in that respect. The actual technology is no problem because we as engineers, we know how to do that. I mean, that's what you're trained to do. We can make things happen, but whether we can make things happen in a packaged way that would build trust and usability for the user is where you get the timing, the cost, the misunderstandings, the meetings, the applicability, what do we decide to go first, whether it's in manufacturing or it's in the medical profession. And these were the sort of questions that we had to answer before trying to lay out or reaching to the stage to which it is today, which is still very primitive. Because all we can do now today with AI is use it like on an iPhone or something to do something for us that we could do. But we want AI to do what we cannot do, then it would be most usable. It would assist us in producing results that are more timely, less costly, and at the same time, we can have the trust of the user based on how it's applied.
Okay. How do you envision the future of AI impacting both the music industry and the broader creative fields?
Oh, the usage of AI would be with us until the extinction of the human race. I hate to put it that way, but it is getting closer to behaviors that mimics the human being.
Right.
So anything that mimics the human being is going to be aligned in a usable fashion as long as there are human beings around. So as long as they're human beings, they're going to need that aid. Like if you have a house and you work out inside all the time, flying around, you need somebody to take care of your house. So instead of you hiring a maid or hiring somebody with the service with that sort of a capability to take care of your house, you use a bot. Like I have a friend right here now, can stay right here, and he can start with the vacuum cleaner in his house in about 2-3 miles from here. And the machine goes around the house and does the corners, and then he takes it off. A little joke one time, his wife was at home and saw this machine sort of running around, and she ran out the house. She thought it had a life of itself, but it was put on that. So the point is, we would have AI
Right.
with us. And there's a fear that everybody has is going to
Yes.
take over and stuff like that. That cannot happen.
Why?
The reason
Not.
it cannot happen because we are in control. In order for that bot to do what it does, it has to be contrived, conceptualized, planned, designed by humans.
Right.
Now, every event or every device that a human would design for its own usage, you would observe, look at your car and stuff, a lot of safety devices are in there.
Right.
Because you don't know what this machine will do and it could kill you.
Right.
So if you're having something as sophisticated as an AI bot in your house, you would have a lot of safeguards to make sure that if you press this button, it can do this, 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 and this. Now, if whoever designs it eliminates
Right.
all these things, then you have a human problem, not a bot problem.
Okay. Got it. In your role as an international engineering manager, how did you incorporate AI into your strategies for improving component reusability at Xerox?
At that time, we didn't employ it or integrate it into our designs because it was not foolproof, so to speak.
Okay.
So we had other ways of being able to determine what the designs were. And for this, and for the understanding of the audience, what I did was signature analysis. What that means is, I worked in a bunch of factories around the world that we were responsible for. But the motivating factor was that any machine, I work for Xerox, which is a place that do a lot of they deal with design and, of course, a lot of copiers and printers.
Right.
What I discovered was when a machine comes back, we strip the machine. The reason we strip the machine is because a refurbished machine has to have the same warranty as a new one.
Right.
So what we will do for integrity, we would strip parts that are perfectly okay and throw them away. So the buy level in terms of the purchasing department was very high just because it wanted to maintain the integrity and the name of the Xerox Corporation. So what I did was I developed a system along with 8 other people. We all have patents on that, including Professor Poe, I don't know if I call names, in MIT. We all were part of this design, and only 8 of us in the world that really understand how that works. And what it does is, anything that moves has a history. So when a part is performing its function within a machine, it delivers a history.
Right.
The history now is usually in technology terms. And what I did was to devise which technology variable degraded the fastest. So hence I could develop a curve to know how long that part would last, and also to put in, which is something that the customer don't like to hear, built-in obsolescence criteria, which means everything has to have an end. Otherwise I can't make money on you.
Exactly. Exactly. I think more and more through companies like Apple and whatnot, it's being seen. It's become a little more.
Well, it is, because they have. If they make a device that you can't replace, then they go out of business.
Exactly. So what inspired you to pursue a career in music, and how did it begin?
The reason I'm hesitating because I always wanted to be a musician. Okay. I was born in Trinidad, and I came to Grenada and to live with my aunts and go to school here and stuff. And one evening I was coming from the park playing, playing football and cricket, and I saw an individual on a step with this thing making noise. Well, at that time it didn't make noise. I didn't know what it was doing. And I went down to that person and I saw it was a guitar, and I heard a note. And Ozzy, I'm still chasing that note.
Wow.
There's something about it that touched something inside, and I feel very fortunate to have that passion and understand what my love was. Everything, every activity, every opportunity, every significant advancement in my life came from that guitar.
Wow.
Because the first part of it, when I started playing the guitar, went back to Trinidad, I had a little combo. Didn't do too well with the playing out because I had a little Grundig radio under my arm that couldn't provide the output and the noise necessary. And I didn't get too honorable comments from my Trinidadian buddies that said, Cecil, you're not playing well, just because you couldn't hear it. I went home and I looked at the back of the radio and I said, I'm going to make that one day. 2 weeks after, the Guardian came up with, come to the United States and study electronics. I didn't know what electronics was, but I know they made amplifiers, and I could design that. And I went up to the States, and the rest is history.
That's what, wow, okay. Can Can you share a memorable experience from your time performing with Akasa?
The name Akasa mean the concept and music of the spheres, is of the universe. And the time with Akasa, I had some very good musicians. They're all Americans. The guy was, one of them was a Puerto Rican. One is a Puerto Rican. We used to call him Chingon, which means he's a great guy with the congos. And my experience with them was to mix jazz, local Caribbean rhythms, and classical topping was quite a casserole, or pilau, as we would say down here.
Right.
And the work to put all those together was very interesting, and I got a lot of positive feedback and a lot of good music from those people. So my experience with them was a learning experience for me, because I wasn't too good a composer at that time, because I had to split things between the bass, drums, and everything. But after a while, I found it very easy. But it was like, how do I do this?
Right.
Of course, you have to know music, and so I did it. And it was a very positive, and I missed my Akasa members a lot. But I lost a few, but there's some there still.
What are some of the key themes or messages you aim to convey through your music? I know I spoke about it a bit in the bio, but from your point of view.
The first thing is discipline. We need to be disciplined in whatever we do. We could be bright, we could have gifts, we could be geniuses. Well, you wouldn't be a genius if you don't reach it. You may be inspired to be a genius. But as Einstein said once when he was asked in Princeton, his old school, they said, Professor, how does it feel to be a genius? And he laughed and said, you too can be a genius. So all it takes is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. We lazy, we don't like to work. But all of us are talented, we are creatures of God. And we can do anything, and all is possible. Our dreams could come true if we pursue them. Nothing comes to us. And we should look not to the outside, because if you're looking at the outside of yourself, you would be looking at things or events that have limitations.
Right.
We are all imperfect. But the perfect part of us is within. We got to look within. And the kingdom and the forces of the universe in the psychic environment would give us everything we need and more.
Can you talk about your experience studying under the masters like Lorindo, Almeida, and Kenny Burrell?
With Lorindo Almeida, I could remember I used to go to, I was in Brooklyn Polytechnic at the time, and he came to town. And Kenny Burrell had a club called the Guitars on 8th Avenue on 10th Avenue on 47th Street. That's Manhattan. And when these artists are in town, we young aspiring guitarists would come up to the club and hear them and sort of get inspiration. And I remember that day I came up and Kenny told me, he said, I have somebody here for you. No, he's an excellent jazz guitarist, it's Kenny Burrell. And he said, that guy on the stage, they said, Almeida, he's from Brazil, and I want you to hear him. It was the first time I really heard one person playing all parts of a tune. Because in jazz, I played chords, and I used a pick, and we play chords, and we take solos and stuff. But to play a complete tune not having any accompaniment, but still having the fullness is a classical style. That's what the classical masters. And the head of that was Mr. Andre Segovia, which was one of the best guitarists. He died about 5 years ago. And he was the one that brought the guitar to that level where it's a concert instrument instead of just an instrument for having outside parties and having to strum.
Right.
So meeting Lorendo, I could remember that day. I was now starting to play the classical guitar because I love the style so much. And I went up to the stage. I went up below the stage. Of course, he was on the stage with a pianist, a bassist, and a drummer. And I stayed that evening and looking at that man play and said, but he got to have a special guitar because he couldn't get all of that song just because I play the electric guitar and I can't get that. I mean, you play with a pick. Of course, I see he's using his fingers, but I didn't believe that had the amount of significance that it really had.
Right.
And Ozzy, that man played, and in the end, I looking at him, I say, well, it's not my guitar, he played. He said, my friend, he's from Brazil. Right. He said, you like guitar? I say, yes. He said that you could be good. I say, yeah. Well, he said, I said, I want to be like you. He said, oh, let me see what guitar you have. And that man took that guitar, had a little box guitar, and played just like he played his own guitar. And I went home, I took it from there, and I took the subway, went back home, and I put the guitar on a chair, and I didn't touch it for a week. I said, no, that can't be real. So anyway, that was my first thing with Lorendo.
Right.
The second thing was when I went to Brazil, I spent some time in Brazil, and to play the bossa nova in their style, you have to go there. Because their style comes from their language, the Portuguese, where the accents are in the music. And plus, how we start to play in this part of the world, we learn easy chords, like, simple chords that you can play and strum to. But the Brazilians, they start with the music and the chords that they play, and you would see people at the side of the road having a good time, but playing terrifically in the music. So I got that indoctrination there, and that's what the influence was.
What challenges have you faced as a musician and composer on the international scene?
On the international scene, first of all, I was well received because they admired the diligence and the level which they thought I played. I know how much I don't know. I still keep fighting with the thing. But so they paid more attention to the artistry, and was very pleased to see that it sort of was in the same realm of their people who came from the conservatories and the different schools of music. So that reception was fine. And also, the thrill was this executive from the Xerox Corporation, he walks around with this guitar in one hand and a computer in the next. So they were amazed, what time did I find, to play? But,
and with that, probably, how good are you really if you're splitting your time like that?
Well, one of the things I said to them, and it's true, I don't drink alcohol and stuff like that. So when I go away, instead of going to the bars and doing things, if it's a place I didn't go to, I would like to see. I like to sightsee and to drive and to see the things of the planet. But what I would do, I would go up to my room and practice. So regardless of where I am, I'm playing. And I don't let a day pass unless I try to play. Because it's a love, it's a passion, and that's why I say I'm very fortunate. It's not so much me, the person, because a lot of my friends have started with the guitar, and they meet me and say, oh, Mr. B, man, I wish I had stuck with it like you. But I am not taking any accolades for the fact that I reached the stage in it. It's a gift and something that pulled me. There are two areas in the human being. There's the pull and the push. If you're pulled, you would do it all the time. If you're pushed, you wouldn't do it, although you may have the talent.
Right.
Because you
That's a
have
good
to
one.
do it in your own way.
Right.
You see, but when you're pulled, you can't help yourself. So I was fortunate here. I'm still being pulled. I'm still trying.
What does the name Quiet Fire mean, and how does it reflect your musical vision?
That is a name that encompasses the duality of the cosmos and how we do things. You have sweet, you have salt. You have to have sweet to have salt. You have to know the salt to know sweet. You plug your electric cord into the wall. You have a positive and a negative. You have to have the positive to know that that's negative in order to complete the circuit. Quiet Fire in a musical presentation, you have to address each part of the nervous system of the being or the audience. And to do that, you need to aim at the nervous centers and dualities, differences. The fire is the drum, the rhythm guitar, the bass. That's your engine, and that keeps the rhythm. The top part of it is the quiet, the violin, and the acoustic guitar. So what I'm playing, the lines that I'm playing is more melodic, while the engine, the fire, is keeping the beats and the rhythm. So that duality gives you a package of excitement, of nervous agility, of being able to see at both sides of the spectrum. And that's what makes everything in life plausible, is duality. So quiet fire is a duality. Fire not supposed to be quiet.
Correct.
But fire is quiet in that format.
Can you describe your creative process when composing original music for your projects? Because you're working on with some artists right now, and the composition is involved there as well, no?
Yeah. All artists compose or you create, or an artist is an artist, whether you're a sculptor or painter or whatever. You have to go through the same process. The process is with me. I get inspirations, I get knowings, I get promptings from nature. I could hear a tree, I could hear the breeze blow through a tree, and I could get a chord. I can hear a melody from a bird. I call my birds in the morning and I feed them. And they come and they flap. From the flap, that's a bass part. You could get the top part from how they behave, but they have a structure. Everything in nature has a structure, and that structure provides the different melodies that the universe would put on it. So all I do is,
Capture them?
if I listen well, and then I go to work. I get the 1% and then I go to the 99%.
Has your work in the with the Caribbean Renaissance think tank influenced your musical approach? And could you explain the mission of the Caribbean Renaissance?
The word Renaissance means rebirth. Like the time of Leonardo da Vinci, he was the person that is responsible for helicopters and a lot of the things we do. That was the Renaissance period, and then the thinking again with Socrates and those people. So the Caribbean Renaissance is a sort of a rebirth of what type of activities, and my good friend Mr. David Boosman had introduced me to that, and since we have become very close because our visions seem to coincide.
Aligned.
And what it is really the awareness of what our gifts are and the way in which we can impact each other's understanding of our lives on the planet through the discipline of art form, not necessarily music, but music is our art form. So we use that as our tool. But when you incorporate what the Caribbean Renaissance is all about, is trying to combine and get the age, the senior with the young to produce an integration and move that through the region to be able to get to different approaches and different ways in which we can influence, each other. The goal being to get unity, because with music you get unity. But to get to that point where the music can bring unity, you have to work, which is the discipline. So what form of training do you get? Is either you play the guitar or you go to some sort of school or whatever, but we need discipline. If there's anything I'd like to give as a gift to anybody in life is discipline. Because without that, you really cannot achieve your potential.
And that's how I've lived my life too. Disciplined. And I learned that from dance.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And
That's
I've
an
taken
art
that
form.
throughout my life.
That's an art form.
Yes. Without that discipline, I wouldn't be
You
sitting
can't-
here with you right now.
Thank you.
It's you.
Without discipline, especially in the art form, you wouldn't make it
Correct.
because you have to work hard.
And the discipline is not just doing the work, it's how you do the
How
work
you
as
do the
well.
work. It has to be a love,
Yeah.
a passion.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then you get the true results.
Right.
And don't look outside, look inside.
Always.
1 hour.
What advice would you give to aspiring musicians looking to make a mark in the industry?
The first thing I would say to you, do you like music? Not just want to hear the music or deliver the music for results.
Right.
Like a lot of people here, they play 2-3 chords and they're ready to go and have a job and get money from that.
Right.
Well, that doesn't work.
Right.
So your first thing is you have to like what you do.
He'll start with the first thing as soon as he decides to chill for a minute. Yes.
1 hour. You be talking for
Yep.
1 hour, and I have an hour left on this card.
Right. Go ahead.
Okay, the first thing we do in trying to decide is we have to feel who we are and what are the motivation factors in having us want to do this.
Right.
You don't do it because you saw somebody doing it or you feel like it or it's something that you see you can make money with or so. The art forms are things from the universe and they're from God and God don't deal in money, he deals in work and his attachment to whatever it is that he wants you to do. So we have to look within and leave the rest to whatever the universe decides. So you
amazing.
have to want it first,
Yes.
and you have to put in the work.
Correct. You heard that, people. In anything that you do, discipline, discipline, discipline. Mr. Cecil B. Bartholomew, thank you very much for sitting
You're
with
most
us on this
welcome.
first part, because we're going to be talking on the second part soon. Thank you, Caribbean Airlines. Thank you, J. Andre Laveau. And thank you, audience, for hanging in. Very interesting person. Could you imagine, from MIT to all that he's done on the AI and all the knowledge that he has in that respect, and maybe applying some of that to his music. To sit down to listen to Mr. Bartholomew is Amazing. You guys should get to him. He's just here at Calabash Hotel or wherever else you can find him here. Thank you for cheese. The OTC team, thank you, thank you, thank you for spending your time with us. Please like, subscribe, share. Check out our donate page. We do have a store, you know. There are some items on there. But remember, as I always say, when you're on your beat, stay on the sunny, sunny side of the street, safely, be health conscious, kind to one another, and don't forget to give thanks for the little, and big gifts as we strive through into this beautiful life. So, see you. Thank you for being here. See you. Thank you for being here on the ITC Inside the Call membership page for some more of Mr. B. Till the next.